they have spent more money than they have in the past. They're just not making that money work. Like, they're not maximizing that money with what's happening on the field, which is a shame. But they'll have no choice but to keep spending money because they have talked about how they want to be competitive for a playoff spot in 2025. And, in the AL East, we talk about it all the time. The Yankees are never going anywhere. The Red Sox can be good on any given year. The Orioles have really built a sustainable team. How difficult is that going to be for the Jays to kind of turn this thing around, especially considering they have to deal with the AL East?
They're in a tough spot. They're in a real tough spot right now. I mean, you look at, for me, the cream of the crop in the AL East is the Baltimore Orioles. And to your point, the Yankees are always going to be there. I mean, they went out and got Juan Soto, and I don't know if they're going to hand him the blank check that they should to keep him and Aaron Judge back-to-back in the lineup, but they're always going to be competitive. And the Orioles are going to be good for the next decade. I know, look, they can't pay every single one of these guys that has turned their franchise around, but they can pay a lot of them, and they're going to be good for a long time. So you start looking at, if you're the Jays, in the mirror and say, okay, what can we do to be competitive in this division? And the answer is not, half-assing anything one way or another. It's going to have to be, if you're going to rebuild, you have to rebuild. And if that involves, I don't know. The name has been thrown out there. I don't know how. I don't have my finger on the pulse as much as you guys do in Toronto, but does that involve trading of Vladdy Jr.? What do the fans want there? I don't know. But this version of the team, led by Vladdy and Bo Bichette and a strong pitching staff, hasn't worked. It just and the pieces you add around it haven't worked. And it's not going to work to be a 500 team in the AL East. It's not going to work to be slightly above 500 because the division is going to be so good. So figure out what direction you want to go in and fully commit. And if that involves a rebuild of sorts, I think that's understandable given the division they're in.
It's understandable, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Like, I have a feeling Vladdy is going to be here or hopefully for a long time. And I think you hope that Bo is just having a bad year that's been, injury plagued, and he's played through it, and hopefully he can bounce back next year. The other thing that the Jays have to contend with in the AL East is that Tampa Bay has basically decided they're going to be sellers, and they're going to almost beat the Jays to it. They kind of picked the lane quicker than the Jays did, and now, all of a sudden they've made 6 trades, and a team that always seems to draft and produce talent is now going to go back to the well on that model. And do they beat the Jays up the ladder as they try and climb back up the AL East?
Yeah, that's a great question. Exactly to the point you just made. It's pick a lane and go. And I have been higher, I think, on the Blue Jays than most over the last. I had them to win the division last year. That didn't play out and work, obviously. I wouldn't say I was big believers in them this year just because it was largely the same team and nothing crazy done in the offseason. But I'm still, with a rotation that they're able to have, with the arms that they can throw out there, with bats like Vladdy Jr., and like you said, with Bo Bichette, who's hopefully just having a down year and dealing with those injuries, but a good baseball player, obviously. I don't think they're that far from being a really good baseball team. I do just think it involves looking in the mirror and committing one way or another. And and that's not an answer that I can have from the outside or that you guys can have. It's going to have to be the front office. And okay, what does this offseason look like? Are we going to go get the biggest free agents that are going to be available out there? Are we going to be involved in the Juan Sotos, the Pete Alonsos, the big bats that are going to be out there? Or are we going to commit with this team and add around them differently, or commit to the future and trading guys this year? I don't know, but I do get tired and frustrated seeing this kind of wishy-washy approach from the front office that can't seem to make up their own mind on how close they are to winning and on what direction they need to go, because the fans can't make up that answer. All everyone else knows is, well, it's not working. It's not winning. So how do you go about it? I don't think they're that far. I just think it's up to the front office to make a decision and go with it.